Okay. So, what we have seen in our last class, that for a brittle material, how the theoretical cohesive strength and the fracture strength is related. From fracture strength we have found out one equation, right? What is that? Sigma, could have be louder.
So sigma is equal to E into gamma c by 4c to the power minus.
Okay. So, we have one equation that sigma equal to E gamma s by 4c whole to the power half, right. So, that kind of equation we have seen, and what we could establish, that the theoretical cohesive strength of a material sigma max that we have represented in our last class, sigma max is equal to the, or we can say that for a material like iron we have found that is equal to about 26 gigapascal the theoretical cohesive strength, and that is equal to, say, for iron about E by some 8 or 9, because for iron it is 200 gigapascal is E, iron, steel, etc. E is 200 gigapascal. From the theoretical cohesive strength, all those calculations, we have found that sigma max equal to 26 gigapascal. That means if material has to fail, this must take a load of 26 gigapascal. But what we have found later, that materials fails at much lower value. What is that lower value? For that, did we do any calculation? You just do one calculation here, then, that if the gamma s here also we can have taken as gamma s equal to 1 joule per meter square, C the crack, semi crack length rather, you can take this as 1 micron, the crack length C as 1 micron, E again you take as 200 gigapascal. So, if we consider that E equal to 200 gigapascal, C is this, gamma s is this, then what will be our value of, approximate value of sigma, equal to, in terms of Pascal it is 200 into 10 to the power 6 into 1 divided by 4, 10 to the power 9, okay, fine, 10 to the power 9, and C is in terms of micron, micron means 10 to the power minus 6. So, 4 into 1 into 10 to the power minus 6 whole to the power half. So, it will be 9 plus 6 15 plus 2 17, calculate it, how much it is, 17 to the power half. What is the value? Nine, 6, 15, 7, 4, 5, 50, 16, 5 into 10 to the power 16 whole to the power half. That means to the power half is there. So, what is the value? Tell me in terms of megapascal. 220 megapascal. Okay, something like 220 only. I am writing 220 megapascal. So, what we have seen is, as per the theoretical cohesive strength of a material, the value is something like 26 GPa. So, the material should fail at a load of that range, but we have seen that if we consider the material's failure, that failure load is much lower, where from it is, for that we have assumed that materials are having some cracks, and if cracks are present, then from that consideration we have one equation like this. Okay. So, those who are not present, we have one drawing like this. This is, say, one shape of a crack, and if the crack is there of this kind, then for that I will have stress concentration at the tip of the crack. So, why stress concentration will be there? Because of, if I load a particular material which is cracked initially, on that both the ends, if I have some tensile loading, then that load will not be similar throughout the entire body. Where there is a crack, at the tip of the crack, based on the sharpness of the crack tip, the stresses in that localized region will be higher. That means at this particular region the stress will be higher based on our applied stress and the sharpness of the crack. Okay, and we have considered that at this region the stress may reach up to the theoretical strength of the material. From that we found that equation, and from here this I can consider or correlate as the fracture stress of a material, and from that consideration we have found that it is around 220 megapascal, which is reasonably similar value that we generally get by doing a test by any of our tensile test or any test. Okay. So, the similar thing we can have another approach to find out using the Griffiths criteria, which is known as Griffiths theory of brittle fracture. So, what is the Griffiths theory of brittle fracture? Now, what it tells is basically what we have seen that earlier also, that if there is a crack, that means it is generation of a new surface, isn't it? Or rather two new surfaces, because as soon as a crack will propagate, that means the new surfaces will form at both the sides of the crack, right. So, I will have two new surfaces generation, and that means what? If you try to visualize that, if I have a say in my shirt, if there is a small crack and a bigger crack, so the bigger cracked one will fail much earlier compared to the smaller crack one, isn't it? If I have a small cut here, that will sustain some long time, but if I have bigger cut here, so very easily that can be got wasted. Okay, so similarly, if in a material anywhere I have smaller cracks and bigger cracks, so bigger crack means that is associated with lesser energy. Smaller crack means it is having some more energy. So, where that energy goes? Now, from smaller to bigger cracks, when it transforms, some energy it will release, okay, which is known as the strain energy of a material. Strain energy. So, if one crack is present, from where it is becoming larger, so from smaller to larger one it is forming, means the material is releasing some strain energy. What is the measurement of that strain energy? Now, I can have the idea, oh yes, here also we have the assumption, which is, say it is a brittle material. Here also it is mentioned that Griffiths theory of brittle fracture. Okay. So, we have to consider that it is a brittle material. That means, if I have a brittle material, the stress strain curve will be a straight line, right. So, for the brittle material I will have a straight line kind of stress strain curve, and for that strain energy is the measure, means it is the area under the curve. Okay. So, if I have a stress strain curve like this particular straight line, then the strain energy will be equal to half into sigma into epsilon. That means, we know this, half into base into height is the area of any triangle. If I have a brittle material, then the stress strain curve is linear. Okay. So, I have a perfect triangle like this to find out the energy of area under the curve, and this will be half into sigma into epsilon. Okay. Another one which we know that from Hooke's law, that is sigma equal to E into epsilon in the elastic region. So, sigma equal to E epsilon, from here epsilon can be written as sigma by E. So, here if I put epsilon equal to sigma by E, this will be half sigma square by E. Okay. So, half sigma square by E, and that will be the elastic strain energy of a material under per unit volume. Okay. Elastic strain energy of a material per unit volume, that is half sigma square by E is the elastic strain energy material per unit volume. Now, if I have a crack, say the, for example, say or consider that the crack is having a diameter, crack is a circular crack and it is having a diameter of 2c. Okay. If the crack is having a diameter of 2c, that means you can just draw a plate like this, etc. Okay. On that this direction that crack is through. Okay. It is having a thickness T, or for simplicity for the time being you consider that it is unit thickness, okay, less thicker material, and I have a crack of circular cross section and it is having a diameter 2c. Okay. What is the area then? Then area is pi c square. So, the elastic strain energy per unit thickness of the material will be, this is basically elastic strain energy per unit volume. So, pi c square has to be multiplied with this to make it per unit thickness, is not it? As I said, this one is elastic strain energy per unit volume. To make it per unit thickness only, what I have to make it, pi c square has to be multiplied with this. Okay. So, it will be pi c square sigma square by 2e. The total elastic strain energy per unit thickness is pi c square sigma square divided by 2e. Okay. But as you know that crack is not always a circular one. So, crack is having some other geometries also. So, from that all kinds of correlation, what we have basically, what we have seen that the term half is not there associated with strain energy. So, this is approximated with pi c square sigma square by E, total strain energy. And as I said that this strain energy is being released when a crack is getting elongated from a smaller one to a bigger one. Okay. Is that clear up to this, or you have doubt? Yes. That means, as I said, some energy has to be released. A smaller crack to bigger crack formation, you have to have some release in strain energy, and this pi c square sigma square divided by E is the total strain energy released to make a small crack a bigger one. So, if this is the energy released, then Griffith has proposed that during, or rather before going to Griffith, what I want to tell is if as I said earlier also, if cracks are forming, that means two new surfaces are forming at the top and bottom. New surface requires some surface energy, and that surface energy we have approximated with gamma s. Two new surfaces means 2 gamma s. Okay. So, 2 gamma s is here the energy, surface energy term which is there. So, surface energy for that particular area per unit thickness, if I want to make, is that will be total surface energy is 2 gamma s into this length 2c. Okay. So, this is you can consider for the beginning as surface energy per unit volume. If I multiply this with 2c, it will be surface energy per unit thickness, because T is equal to 1. Okay. So, it is equal to 4c gamma s. Up to this it is clear. And then as per Griffith's criteria, it is said that total energy change of a system will be 0. That means what? Now, total energy that is being released from the elastic strain energy will be equal to the energy change due to creation of new surface. Okay. So, we can write in this manner that so, what we have said here is, as per Griffith's criteria, the total energy change will be equal to 0. That means, the energy that we are releasing in terms of strain energy is equal to the energy which is required to create the new surfaces are similar. Here you must see that here one minus symbol I have put. Why that I have put here now? Because the strain energy is being released. Okay. So, the strain energy of the total system is reduced for a crack from a value to particular another value, it is coming down. So, the negative symbol is used here, and total energy change as per Griffith's criteria will be equal to 0. That means, the change in the energies here, this way I have to correlate. Is that all right? Okay. So, now you do this differentiation and find out what is the value of sigma that you are getting from here. Do this. Or rather, as this is equal to 0, you have ddc of this. So, we can write here something like four gamma s minus 2 pi c sigma square by E equal to 0, or sigma square equal to, this will go up 2 E gamma s by pi c, isn't it? So, we will have the thing which is sigma square equal to 2 E gamma s by pi c. From here only you can write is sigma equal to two E gamma s by pi c whole to the power half. 2 E gamma s by pi c whole to the power half. Okay. So, this is the sigma f that we have computed in that earlier method of theoretical cohesive strength of a material, similar equation, okay, as per Griffith's criteria. Here we have found that 2 E gamma s by pi c whole to the power half is the strength value of a material. So, here also you can have some calculation, just like that you have used in your last case. E you know 200 gigapascal, gamma s you know, C the one that you have used earlier 1 micron, okay, that you just do and see how is there any difference in their values. There will be little difference, and this happens because from theory to theory all these are empirical equations. We try to understand that how the things are happening. So, you may have some difference, but approximately similar values which a material can take. What you got? We have 210 to the power 9 into 1 divided by pi 1 into 10 to the power minus 1 micron, right, minus 6 whole to the power half. So, what is the value? Huh? 356 megapascal. Okay. So, we have some higher value as compared to that we have calculated as per the earlier one. Okay. Yes, in these all these equations we have some variation, some modification, etc., which makes them similar to the results that we compute by other methods. Okay. So, this, as I said, thickness of the material we have considered as equal to unity, T equal to 1. That means we can consider this for very thin kind of specimens for which we use this. Okay. So, for the time being you know that this kind of thin specimens are known as plane stress specimens. Have you heard this earlier, plane stress? This plane stress term have you heard earlier? Plane stress means stress in one direction is equal to 0, and those are conditions when I have specimens for a testing is thin. Okay. If I have a thick plate, that consideration is plane strain condition. You can remember this by this way, that plane strain means strain in one particular direction is 0. If a specimen, say this is the specimen table, is thick enough in this direction, if there is small amount of strain, that can be considered as negligible as compared to the initial length of it. Okay. So, in that direction we consider the strain as 0. Okay. So, that way this is plane strain when I have a thick specimen. If I have a thick specimen, then this equation changes little bit, that is 2E gamma s by, instead of only pi c, I have 1 minus nu square into pi c whole to the power half. Okay. So, the equation that we have computed, you can consider that as for plane stress condition. If I have to have the equation similar equation which is there for plane strain condition for a thick specimen, then instead of only pi c at the denominator, the 1 minus nu square term has to be multiplied. How it comes, etc., those things we will see later. For the time being, you consider for plane strain condition I have this equation. Another one which we can have here is Orwan's modification. What is Orwan's modification? So, as you have seen here, for a Griffith criteria, that means that was written also Griffith criteria for brittle fracture, we are considering here for fully brittle materials. Now, if some plastic work is there ahead of a crack, that means not ahead of a crack, rather I want to say that after the elastic deformation of the material, if there is a small plastic work, that means some material after brittle have small regions of plastic deformation, and a little bit plasticity is there associated with. For those conditions, what I have, same Griffith equation we can use. The Griffith equation we can use, but with some modification. So, what is that modification? That is actually represented by OR1, and this is known as OR1's modification. What is that? Now, he said that say the plastic work which is there is equal to gamma p. That means the plastic work is having similar units and all as compared to the surface energy, and that work is say gamma p, and that gamma p has to be added with your gamma s term. Then this equation can be used for a material which is having little plasticity after the brittle or elastic deformation. Okay. So, if there is a term gamma p associated with this, then what I have, if you can remember that gamma s term is having the energy that I said is around 1 joule per meter square in our last problem, and gamma p surface energy term, gamma p the plastic work term, which is not less than 1000 joule per meter square. So, the gamma p is having a magnitude 1000 joule per meter square as compared to 1 of gamma s. So, what we have now, if it is very, if we can compare that gamma p is very greater than gamma s, that means if it is 1000 and that is 1000 and 1001 is having no difference. So, instead of writing gamma s, we can directly write as E gamma s 2E gamma p divided by pi c whole to the power half. So, this is the OR1's modification in Griffith's equation. That means, for some cases when I can have some amount of plastic word associated, then instead of using Griffith's this equation, I have to have one term which is known as plastic work, and that has to be added with our gamma s, and by comparing to this gamma s, it is very bigger. So, neglect gamma s and only write 2E gamma p divided by pi c whole to the power half. Up to this, is it clear? Whoever is having question, please ask. Okay, let me have this equation for some while. Questions, bolo. Up to this, any question? No. No. Okay. So, as I have said that Griffith equation, we have the term gamma s, that is the surface energy, and the fracture stress sigma is sigma, you can also write sigma f, no problem, and that is equal to this. So, the fracture stress is directly proportional to this gamma s term, the surface energy term. So, the surface energy is having lot of role in the fracture stress of a material, and somehow if I can vary this fracture stress, I can have some increase or decrease of the fracture stress of a material, because it is here. So, for reducing the fracture stress, we use this something called some surface active agents or something. You see the book, surface active agents. I have just written it, you check it from your book. So, what it does, it causes the variation of the surface energy. That means, if I have surface energy of 1 joule, okay, it can reduce it to 0.5 joule, some say some chemicals or something. So, how we use this? For that I have some examples, like Ore baba. Say bend strength of ice. If you measure it in air, it will be 1 MPa, but if you measure it in methyl chloride, that means ice you have a small cut on it, on which you just apply some amount of methyl chloride. Okay. So, as soon as you do this and then measure the bend strength of it, it will suddenly come down to 0.5 megapascal. But this is just for sample example, like rock drilling. Okay, we use dynamite to break it. So, there also some amount of surface active reagents. Okay. What it does, now as soon as you put some amount of these surface active reagents to it, the surface energy will reduce and the drilling will be easier. Okay, because of reduction in the surface energy, at lower applied force it can break. Okay. Like similar thing like embrittlement of metals. So, what is embrittlement of metals? Have you heard something like temper embrittlement? What is that temper embrittlement? Okay, something I can tell you like intergranular fracture. What is that intergranular fracture? It is something like I have a grain structure on which through the grain boundary some cracks can bypass. Okay, some cracks can move through the grain boundaries. How it can go? Now, it happens like that the grain boundaries or the strength of the grain boundaries reduces, like it becomes very brittle. Okay, and a crack which is forming, it goes through the grain boundary. So, how it is possible? Say some amount of trace elements are present in a steel. Okay, some arsenic, antimony, these kind of things are present. During tempering operation, they will go and segregate on the grain boundaries. If that happens, then it makes the grain boundary brittle. Okay. So, during our testing, the crack may pass through those grain boundaries and I will find intergranular fracture. Some other example is stainless steel, that you may have heard earlier, sensitization. Okay. Sensitization, one topic we heard earlier, where we have seen that Cr23C6, some chromium carbide formation. Okay. From the interior of the grains, it makes Cr23C6 and sits on the grain boundary, makes the grain boundary brittle, and stainless steel which is having a very high ductility, we may have 70-80% austenitic stainless steel. Because of sensitization, that may drastically come down, and through the grain boundaries one crack can propagate, which is unusual for a very ductile material. This is kind of brittle failure which may happen due to this. Okay. This kind of reduction of surface energy by means of these surface active reagents are known as Joffre effect. Okay, this thing is known as Joffre effect. Okay, what I have then? So, up to this, is that clear to all of you? Clear? Questions? If you don't ask me, I will ask you. Question? Question? No. So, two types of fracture we have seen. Okay, rather the cohesive strength and these fracture models. After that, we will see the material aspect, how the material, but the say analytical part, some derivations etc. of this chapter is up to this. means how theoretical cohesive strength and fracture strength is related in a material. Two ways the fracture behavior we have seen. One is that I have a crack, there is stress concentration, due to that how fracture is getting affected, okay, that we have seen. Another one is as per Griffith criteria how total energy is varying, that way we have some correlation, isn't it? Okay, so that is the story. After that what I will see in our next class is about the fracture morphology, means we have seen ductile material, hard these things, brittle material, how the cracks can propagate to this. Earlier also tensile chapter we have seen for a brittle material, here also we have seen that stress strain curve is something. For a ductile material there will be plastic deformation, so obviously the crack formation or nature of crack propagation will be different in both the cases. So how these things are and how the material's internal chemistry affects the fracture behavior of a material, those things we will see in our next class.